Have you ever wondered why, in an age where every move of the royal family is tracked by satellites and high-speed cameras, two of the most important children in the British line of succession are essentially invisible? It's a question that is no longer being asked only by internet theorists. It's being whispered in the hallways of Buckingham Palace and debated by constitutional experts. Something major is stirring behind those heavy stone walls. And this time, the usual never complain, never explain mantra may not be enough. For the first time in centuries, the legitimacy of the crown's future is being tied to a series of documents, medical reports, and missing signatures that simply do not add up. Lady Colin Campbell, often known as Lady C, has recently stepped forward with claims of an active investigation into the births of Archie and Lilibet, and the reaction from Meghan Markle and Prince Harry has reportedly been explosive. But what exactly has been uncovered? And why is the timing of this investigation causing such panic in Montecito? The mystery begins with a detail so small that most people would never notice it. Yet it is exactly the kind of smoking gun investigators look for. It all comes down to a single number on a birth certificate. In the United States, birth registration follows a highly specific coding system managed by the CDC and individual state vital statistics offices. On Princess Lilibet's public birth record, there is a geographic area code used to identify the location of birth. For California, the state where the Sussexes claim Lilibet was born, that code is reportedly 104. However, analysts who scrutinized the documents pointed out a glaring inconsistency. Lilibet's document allegedly features the code 105. Here is why that matters. In the federal coding system, 105 does not belong to California. It belongs to Colorado. This mismatch has sent the royal commentary world into a frenzy. If the birth took place at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital, as the official narrative states, how did a Colorado code end up on a California document? Some suggest it was simply an administrative error. Others believe it points to something far more calculated. Rumors have long circulated that the Sussexes may have used a surrogate, a practice that is perfectly legal in the United States, but one that could carry major implications for the British monarchy. If a child is born via surrogate in a different state and later registered in California, the paperwork trail can become a tangled web of amended certificates. Could the 105 code be an accidental fingerprint of a process the public was never meant to see? When you are seventh in line to the throne, a clerical error is no longer just a mistake. It becomes a potential constitutional controversy. But the paper trail, or lack of one, goes far deeper than a three-digit code. To understand why this has become such a major issue, you have to look at the yellow folder protocol. For more than a century, every royal birth has followed a strict, almost sacred tradition. When a royal baby is born, a signed bulletin is placed on an ornate easel outside Buckingham Palace for the world to see. This is not merely ceremonial. That bulletin is signed by the attending physicians and royal medical staff, serving as official confirmation of the birth, who were present or verified the birth immediately. We saw it for Prince William. We saw it for Prince Harry. And we saw it for all three of Prince William's children. It is considered the ultimate proof that a child was born of the body, a legal requirement for the line of succession that dates back to the 1700s. Yet when Archie was born in 2019, the easel was famously missing signatures. The bulletin was posted, but the names of the doctors were absent. The palace blamed the speed of the announcement, but critics were not convinced. When Lilibet was born 2 years later in America, the protocol was abandoned entirely. There was no bulletin, no signatures, and no verification by the royal medical household. This break from tradition created a massive legal vacuum. Without verification from the crown's own doctors, the public was essentially being asked to take their word for it. But in a family where trust has been fractured by memoirs and Netflix documentaries, taking their word for it became a difficult ask. The absence of those signatures became the foundation upon which every other rumor was built. The plot thickens when you look at the people who were supposedly in the room. In Santa Barbara, the medical professional tied to Lilibet's birth was reportedly Dr. Melissa Drake, a respected OB/GYN with a thriving practice. But shortly after news of Lilibet's birth broke, something unusual happened. Dr. Melissa Drake reportedly closed her practice without warning and largely disappeared from public life. While some say she simply retired or relocated for personal reasons, the timing raised many questions. In the world of royal investigations, critics often say there are no coincidences. Why would the doctor connected to the birth of a British princess suddenly walk away from her career? Critics of the Sussexes suggest she may have been bound by an extremely strict non-disclosure agreement. Others speculate that she did not want to become the public face of a birth narrative she could not fully support. This vanishing witness narrative has added yet another layer of mystery to the story. If everything were straightforward, critics argue, wouldn't the doctor be proud to have her name associated with such a historic event? Instead, there is silence. And in the vacuum of that silence, rumors surrounding surrogacy and legal maneuvering have only grown louder. This is not just about one doctor. It is about the integrity of the medical record that secures a child's place in history. If this sounds like a modern conspiracy theory, history suggests otherwise. This is not the first time the British monarchy has faced a birth legitimacy crisis. Back in 1688, Britain faced what became known as the warming pan scandal. When King James II's wife, Mary of Modena, gave birth to a son, rumors spread that the baby had died and that another infant had been smuggled into the birthing room inside a warming pan. Public suspicion became so intense that future royal births required official witnesses. That is why, historically, even the Home Secretary was expected to be present during royal births to ensure no child switching could occur. While the monarchy has long moved beyond having government officials standing beside the royal bed, the born of the body requirement still remains part of British succession law. The 1701 Act of Settlement is very clear. Succession is limited to the heirs of the body. Legal experts have pointed out that even if Archie and Lilibet are the biological children of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the use of a surrogate could raise constitutional questions under current UK law. In that scenario, Parliament would potentially need to pass a specific act to clarify or change the rules. This is the so-called nuclear option that Lady Colin Campbell and other royal commentators continue to hint at. If an investigation ever proved that a surrogate had been used, critics argue that the children's status and the line of succession could face legal scrutiny by default. Suddenly, the historical ghosts of 1688 no longer feel ancient. They feel modern. Then there is the issue of what the public actually sees. Modern royal coverage thrives on visuals, yet when it comes to the Sussex children, the imagery has become a constant source of frustration and speculation online. Most released photographs are either grainy, black and white, heavily filtered, or taken from behind. And whenever a clear image does emerge, internet sleuths immediately begin analyzing it. There have been repeated claims online that some of the released photographs of Archie and Lilibet may have been digitally altered. Critics point to changing hair colors, from sandy blonde to bright red within short periods of time, as well as height inconsistencies that they argue do not match the reported ages of the children. Some critics pointed to the 2021 Christmas card, where Lilibet appeared noticeably smaller than a child her reported age. Others focused on the famous frolicking in the grass photo from her first birthday, which some AI analysts claimed showed signs of compositing, suggesting the child may have been digitally inserted into the background. While supporters of the Sussexes argue that this is simply a mother's desire for privacy combined with artistic photography and aesthetic filters, critics say it only fuels the speculation. Why the secrecy? Why the heavy editing? Critics argue that if the goal were truly to silence the rumors, the easiest solution would be to appear openly before cameras and allow the public to see the family naturally. Instead, the continued reliance on carefully staged imagery has caused the children to feel, to some observers, like digital ghosts haunting the line of succession rather than visibly occupying it. Perhaps the most damaging challenge to the official narrative comes not from investigators, but from Prince Harry himself. In his memoir, Spare, Prince Harry recounts Archie's birth with details that were intended to feel personal and intimate. But for many readers, parts of the story felt strangely inconsistent. He claims they arrived at the hospital, Meghan Markle gave birth, and they returned home to Windsor just 2 hours later. On paper, it sounds like an extraordinary supermom story. In reality, Critics say it raises logistical questions. The Portland Hospital in London is at least an hour's drive from Frogmore Cottage under ideal conditions. Once you factor in labor, standard post-birth observation periods, medical paperwork, and recovery time, many observers argue that such a rapid turnaround seems highly unlikely. Even more unusual was Prince Harry's description of using laughing gas during the birth. He wrote that he consumed so much nitrous oxide that nurses allegedly had to replace the tank, and that they ate Nando's chicken during labor. Critics argue that the scene reads more like a Hollywood comedy than a traditional royal birth at one of London's most prestigious hospitals. These inconsistencies in Prince Harry's own account have led some observers to believe that portions of the story may have been dramatized to create a more relatable image. But if details surrounding the birth narrative appear embellished, critics naturally ask, what else might have been shaped for public perception? This brings us to the growing tension between Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, which many royal commentators believe is reaching a breaking point in 2026. According to insiders, the couple is locked in a quiet battle over the future of their children. Prince Harry is reportedly terrified of the dangers of social media and global fame. Having lost his mother, Princess Diana, in such a public and tragic way, he allegedly wants Archie and Lilibet to grow up as privately as possible in California. He does not want them to become public figures until they are old enough to choose that life for themselves. Meghan Markle, meanwhile, is described by critics as more brand-focused. With the launch of American Riviera Orchard and other media ventures, insiders claim she sees the children as an important part of the Sussex public image. According to these reports, she wants them to receive the same level of royal visibility enjoyed by the children of Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales. Critics claim she believes that keeping the children hidden weakens both their public connection and the long-term value of the Sussex brand. This fundamental disagreement, privacy versus publicity, is reportedly creating major tensions behind closed doors. Prince Harry wants a shield. Meghan Markle wants a spotlight. And as the children grow older, commentators believe that conflict will only intensify. Are Archie and Lilibet simply children, or are they becoming part of a media strategy? For some observers, the answer to that question could determine whether the Sussex marriage survives the years ahead. While the Sussexes navigate these tensions in Montecito, Buckingham Palace is reportedly far from passive. King Charles III is said to be walking a delicate line. He wants to remain a loving grandfather, but he is also the guardian of a 1,000-year-old institution. Recent reports suggest that Prince William is pushing for a far firmer approach. As the future king, Prince William is reportedly frustrated that the line of succession, the very structure he will one day lead, is being clouded by lingering unanswered questions. According to palace insiders, he does not want his children, Prince George of Wales, Princess Charlotte of Wales, and Prince Louis of Wales, to inherit a monarchy where critics claim the rules appear selectively enforced. There is now growing talk of a possible cleanup operation. This could involve a quiet request for the Sussexes to. There are reportedly growing calls for the Sussexes to provide verified DNA or medical records to a private royal committee. Critics claim that if such requests were refused, the proposed removal of titles legislation that has periodically circulated through Parliament could suddenly gain serious momentum. King Charles III is widely viewed as a man who prefers to avoid direct conflict. But with ongoing concerns surrounding his health, royal commentators believe he feels increasing pressure to resolve the Sussex issue before eventually passing the crown to Prince William. According to palace observers, the king's silence is not necessarily weakness. It may be the silence of a man carefully weighing every possible outcome. And when a decision finally comes, many believe it will be swift, legal, and final. While debates surrounding birth certificates continue to dominate royal discussions, another complicated legal question is emerging across the Atlantic: the paradox of the American prince. For the first time in modern history, two children, Archie and Lilibet, hold high-ranking British royal titles while being raised in a republic that was founded through a revolution against hereditary monarchy. Critics in Washington have started asking an uncomfortable question. Can someone truly function as a prince or princess of the United Kingdom while living as a private citizen in California? This is no longer viewed merely as a matter of etiquette. Some commentators argue that it could eventually evolve into a constitutional issue touching both nations. The United States Constitution has historically been wary of foreign titles of nobility. Meanwhile, critics accuse the Sussexes of leveraging royal titles to influence American media, public discourse, and even political conversations. From public letters to Congress to high-profile media appearances, detractors argue that the prince and princess labels create an aura of authority and elevated status despite having no legal standing within the United States. If Archie and Lilibet are eventually positioned as commercial extensions of the Sussex brand in America, some royal insiders believe Buckingham Palace may feel forced to intervene to prevent the crown from becoming entangled in American political and commercial culture. The tension is reportedly reaching a point where legal experts speculate that the U.S. government could one day be pressured to clarify the practical standing of foreign royals living and working on American soil. Behind the scenes in London, many believe there are already people who know the answers to every question being publicly debated. They are often referred to as the men in gray, senior courtiers, advisors, and intelligence liaisons who quietly manage the logistics and protection of the royal household. For years, rumors have circulated about the existence of a secret dossier allegedly containing the unfiltered truth about the Sussexes' final years in the United Kingdom and the circumstances surrounding their departure. According to speculation, this file includes everything from internal bullying investigations to confidential medical records related to the births of Archie and Lilibet. Why has none of this information ever become public? Because in the high-stakes game of royal survival, information is power. As long as the palace controls the files, it controls the leverage. Some royal commentators believe that if Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were ever to release another explosive memoir or documentary crossing what the palace considers a final line, insiders could quietly allow damaging information to surface. It is, according to critics, a cold and calculated standoff. The palace is not remaining silent because it is afraid. It is remaining silent because it is waiting. Royal strategists understand that, in the court of public opinion, the side that speaks last often shapes the final narrative. By keeping questions surrounding birth records, medical witnesses, and succession controversies unresolved, the monarchy preserves strategic leverage in both legal and public relations battles. As 2026 progresses, the narrative surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan Markle is also beginning to shift from united front to what some commentators describe as professional separation. Observers have noted a significant increase in Prince Harry's solo appearances, especially during trips back to the UK for charity events and legal proceedings. Many royal watchers interpret these visits as early signs of a possible soft return to royal life. At the same time, Meghan Markle remains firmly rooted in California, focused on her lifestyle ventures and American media projects. This growing separation carries enormous implications for the children. If Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are truly moving in different directions, what happens to Archie and Lilibet? And if Prince Harry were eventually to return to the United Kingdom in some limited royal capacity, the question of the children's residency could quickly become a firestorm. Would Archie and Lilibet remain in Montecito as American celebrities, or would they eventually return to the United Kingdom to be educated as British royals? Some observers believe Meghan Markle would never allow the children to leave her side, arguing that they represent her strongest remaining connection to the royal institution and the global visibility that comes with it. However, if rumors of a separation were ever proven true, palace insiders believe the monarchy could view it as an opportunity to bring the children back into the royal fold, ensuring they are raised within the traditions, structure, and protections of the crown. This quiet tug-of-war over the future of Archie and Lilibet has become the hidden subtext behind nearly every Sussex-related headline. At the center of this entire saga is one word: legacy. King Charles III understands that he is a transitional monarch, a bridge between the long, stable reign of Queen Elizabeth II and the future reign of Prince William. He does not want his chapter in royal history to be defined by a public family war or lingering questions surrounding the legitimacy of his grandchildren. This, many believe, explains why he has hesitated to take the so-called nuclear option of removing titles. According to royal commentators, King Charles III still hopes for reconciliation, or at minimum, a quiet resolution that preserves the dignity of the institution. But Prince William reportedly represents a very different style of leadership. He has witnessed firsthand the damage caused by media wars, public grievances, and half-truths within the royal family, and insiders claim he is far less willing to continue the strategy of waiting in silence. For Prince William, the long-term survival of the monarchy depends on clarity and stability. A monarchy built on unanswered questions, critics argue, becomes a monarchy built on sand. To Prince William, the debate surrounding Archie and Lilibet is no longer simply a family issue. It is a constitutional and institutional issue. He reportedly wants an unquestioned line of succession so that his own children never face challenges to their legitimacy or future roles. The tension between King Charles III's desire for peace and Prince William's demand for certainty may ultimately determine the future status of the Sussex children. And many believe the monarchy is rapidly approaching a turning point. Public patience for privacy-first royal narratives appears to be fading. In an era where transparency has become the new currency of public trust, critics say the Sussex strategy of secrecy is increasingly looking less like protection and more like liability. Whether it is the mystery surrounding the alleged 105 Colorado Code, the missing medical signatures, or the constantly debated photographs of the children, the gaps in the narrative have become impossible for critics to ignore. Royal watchers believe the next 12 months could become the most critical period yet in the divide between Buckingham Palace and the Sussexes. With legal battles approaching conclusions and new media projects reportedly on the horizon, many expect that some version of the truth, real or perceived, will eventually emerge. Whether that truth becomes a world-shaking revelation or merely a quiet clarification that ends the speculation remains unknown. But one thing is certain. The world is watching, the palace is waiting, and the clock is ticking on the Sussex secrets. Now more than ever, the conversation demands public attention. Are we witnessing the slow-motion collapse of a carefully constructed narrative? Or is this entire controversy simply a massive misunderstanding amplified by the internet and modern media culture? As the world waits for the next move from Montecito or the next leak from palace insiders, the debate surrounding the future of the crown continues to intensify. Share your thoughts below, because this story is far from over, and the biggest twist in this royal drama may still be the one nobody sees coming.